I love astrology. I really, really do. And today I'm totally enthusiastic about talking about Johnny Depp, his natal chart. Now, I've always been I love Johnny Depp. I love his movies. I don't love him. I don't know the guy, you know what I mean? But he's good at what he does, and I respect that. So, I should have made this video 3 weeks ago. I'm glad I didn't because I was a little pumped up and a little irritated with what people were saying about Johnny Depp just because he made the comment, the slur or whatever, about Donald Trump. And I'm not going to go into that. I'm just saying, I mean, he, like any other celebrity, they're all human beings. Okay, they do way harder work than we could ever imagine. I think it's not easy being a movie star. People think it's all glamorous. It's not. Not that I've ever been a new movie star, but I can imagine. I wouldn't want people following me around. So that's how Johnny Depp is, and I respect his privacy. So I haven't watched a lot of his interviews, um, and I don't know. I just watch him in his movies. I like his work, and I do like a lot of his philosophies on life and his style. Sorry, I have some papers that are kind of blowing around here. Whatever. Johnny Depp's a cool person. Anyone who's watching this video must think so because we're watching it. So let's talk about it. Okay, so here, this is what I do. Um, Here you will see some numbers, right? I don't know if you can make that out. Okay, but anyways, with these numbers, I can pretty much talk about Johnny Depp's birth chart. I would love to have a fancy thing or a fancy system where I could put the chart on the screen and I could point to it and say, oh, yeah, 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 la, la. However, sometimes I have to employ my brain. I don't have that type of technology available. Okay, so I'm assuming anyone watching this video is a Johnny Depp fan or just astrology fan or whatever, and I hope you're not a Johnny Depp hater because you'll be wasting your time making comments on this video, really, because no one cares if you have something negative to say, and Johnny Depp doesn't care, so don't waste your time. Okay, anyways, so what's going on here is Johnny Depp is a natal Leo ascendant. Now, what do I mean by that? See, this is a video for beginners, and it's also a video for anybody who doesn't really know, who knows a little bit more about astrology than you know someone who really doesn't, which most people don't. And so it's this what I'm getting. Okay, so the ascendant is the first thing that people will see about you. Okay, your sun sign in Johnny Depp's case is Gemini. Okay, so yes, he's a Gemini. He has a dual personality, whatever. Any Gemini association you want to talk about, all the keywords. What are they? Witty, versatile, two-faced, dual-minded, scatterbrained. And then those are all just like typecast type Gemini stuff. If you had to consider the signs as actors, well, there's a lot of typecast type things said. Johnny Depp's sun is in the 11th house. Okay, so there are houses in a natal chart, and they all represent, a part of our lives. And I can give a quick rundown. House 1 represents your appearance and how you want other people to perceive you. House 2 is basically the money house. I'm just giving you a quick thing here. The 3rd house is the house of communications and neighborhoods, just communicating. How do you think? The 4th house is that of family. The 5th house is that of like romance, creativity, and children. Games, speculation. 6th house is that of health and work. Just work, not no career. Oh, work. 7th is the house of marriage. 8th is the house of sex, death, and taxes. And the 9th house is that of higher learning, philosophy, and foreign travels. And then we have the 10th house of the public, you know, like the career, and it has to do with like politics and government, things of that nature. The 11th house, which Johnny has his son in, is that of group efforts. Groups, friends, the house of friends. So him having a 11th house, oh, sorry, I can't talk today. An 11th house son is really cool for him because he networks with a lot of individuals. And it's ruled by Gemini, so he's going to attract a lot of people that are versatile into all kinds of things. And obviously, you know him, he can play any part. He's a chameleon. Geminis in general are comedians because Johnny Depp is quite a comedian. So I will go back to that Leo ascendant, in which, yes, Leo ascendants are very much a comedian. You want to know why? Because they are very fragile. Okay, if something is said to hurt them, they will totally just, wow, take it to heart. And I mean literally heart, because Leo rules over the heart if you talk about the physical parts of the body, because each sign, sorry, rules over each part of the body. Okay, so yeah, back to that. They're so critical about themselves, especially because they progress to a Virgo, that it's just, like he said, he doesn't like to watch his own movies. And it's just, there's the Leo rising to me is like a very highly psychological sign. I mean, the thing is, if it's not nurtured, if that energy is not nurtured or acknowledged. See, they say that Leo type people, like, and when I say Leo type people, I'm not just talking about a sun sign. I'm talking about if you have Mercury in Leo, if you have Venus in Leo, that any type of energy to that, you know, extent. So, sometimes I get sidetracked here. What was I talking about? Oh, so the Leo energy in general has a, what is it? They have a reputation. A reputation, that's what we're looking for. A reputation for being somebody who wants to attract attention. No, no, no. That's not how it is. See, what Leo people want is acknowledgement, because Leo people are creative. They come up with innovative stuff, and it should deserve a lot of accolades in most regards. Now, they're not looking for compliments, not looking for any of that nature, but it's really hard to describe Leo rising. Very, very complex. Because yes, they're like a bottomless pit. Like you can give them all the compliments in the world, okay? And if they have low self-esteem, which most of Leo risings do, it just, like I said, depends on how you were brought up and things of that nature. Now, Johnny Depp, he has Mars conjunct Pluto conjunct Uranus, okay, in the second house. And this is all coming together here. The second house is that, like I said, money, but there's a little more to it. The possessions, okay, your materialistic possessions, your self-esteem, okay, how do you feel about yourself? It's the money house it's just not about money. Money is freedom. So how do you, also the way you perceive yourself and things of that nature. So are you free? Do you like yourself? And a lot of people kind of ignore that when it comes to the second house. And because it's a practical earth house, but yes, it has to do with like how do you feel about yourself generally, because earth sign is just general. You know what I mean? So anyways, um his happens to be in Virgo. Okay, so I like Virgos. Okay, Virgo energy people, they are helpful. That's the number one thing you're gonna say, helpful. And they enjoy like what I said, like serving others, making others happy. To an extent, believe me, there's Virgos out there that get completely jaded because they do get used. They get misconstrued. They're a little hard to read. They're ruled by the planet Mercury. Now, Johnny Depp here, he has a lot of Mercury in his chart, which, air and just the man has a problem expressing emotions. Johnny Depp is very it's hard for him to express emotions, especially in love. He's totally misconstrued. I'll get to that when I talk about the relationship part. So I just wanted to go over this Mars conjunct Pluto conjunct Uranus. Now, what does that mean? It means it's like I think it's pretty much, yeah. This is silly. I mean, there's a different degree. What happens here? I'm sorry. I just get a little like flustered sometimes because I just I make things too hard. So let me slow down. So what we have here is Mars conjunct Pluto. Okay, now that alone, that is an aspect, and when I say it is like at a close orb, which means these planets are on top of each other, the energy is accentuated. So Mars is your energy in general. Okay, and it's also your sex drive, and Pluto is how do you transform yourself. Now, Pluto in the second house is quite tough. Okay, it's about losing things. You lose a lot of your materialistic possessions, and you know what, and it may take a while to get them back. You might even obsess over money. His position is also good for business, and he's very persuasive, obviously. Um, Another thing about this aspect is it can be quite violent. Okay, so yes, and when Uranus is also there. Remember, Uranus is very unexpected, and it is just sudden, boom. And I've heard people say, or wasn't? Oh yeah, didn't he trash a few? Yeah, he trashed a hotel room or something like that. There's like, oh, and now he's being accused of being a wife beater. No, if anything, Johnny Depp got into a drunken thing, Rachel Stupor or whatever. That video she put out was just so lame. I mean, that's just the activity of any drunk. I mean, come on. I'm not calling Johnny Depp a drunk. I'm sure he is, though. I don't know. I can really relate to Johnny Depp in a lot of ways. Let me just say that. But so as far as that would be really good if I had to say explanation for that type of behavior. And you see, he has no regard for material items. See, I believe that Johnny Depp, I didn't he grew up poor. He was struggling. And so I don't think he puts a lot of emphasis on material items, even though they're good to have for practical reasons or to get away or whatever, because Johnny Depp doesn't like the public, and with good reason. Okay, so I mean that's why I try not to do too much research about Johnny Depp. I just want to know. I try to figure him out through his characters, which is a little hard to do. Uh, but anyways, so moving on. He has the moon in Capricorn. Okay, so the moon is your emotions. It represents your emotions. How do you react to any given event, situation? It represents how do you view your mother, and it's just your habits, things of that nature, daily routines, habits that are hard to break. We are creatures of habit, so the moon applies to that statement. Johnny Depp's case. Okay, and I also have to say one more thing. Since his moon is in Capricorn, the moon is naturally ruled by Cancer. And seeing as how Cancer and Capricorn are polar opposites, that means that this moon would be in detriment. It's not the best moon position to have, but it is a great one for like business and sorry and planning out things and things of that nature. But when it comes to the emotional realm, mm, not so much. The thing is, they like I said, he has problems expressing emotions already. He has a lot of earth in his chart. Okay, um, he does things through gifts, possibly really acts of service. I would think, you know, doing things for people or giving us like a thoughtful, sensual gift. You know, so that's the type of energy that surrounds Johnny Depp. Now, think about this. This moon in Capricorn is pretty stable for most parts. Earth sign, Earth can be pretty stable. It's placed in the sixth house, though, which is naturally ruled by Virgo, and that's mutable energy. So, I mean, having a moon in the sixth house of work, you know what I'm saying, and it's ruled by the mutable energy. You throw that in the mix, and you have a little fun there. See, obviously Johnny Depp really gets into character. Now, think about someone like Heath Ledger, someone who, he went a little overboard, a little, and with a fixation and obsession about the character. That's I think it's believed called method acting, and I see nothing wrong with it. With the plane coming. Johnny Depp's case, he's very, very lucky because he doesn't have to. Let me pause this really quick. So he's lucky in that regard because like I said, Heath Ledger, he had a lot of water charts, water in his chart, I believe. And, you know, if you have a lot of water, you would be able to soak up these characters like a psychic sponge and they might affect you. Mhm. But Johnny Depp, no. Because of his moon and cap, he's able to just, play the character, get, like he says, he gets paid to lie. I lie for a living, he said. And those are some good words, but also his friend or you know coworker related to Tim Burton, his significant other. I don't know if they were married. Helena Bohem Carter. I can't pronounce it. Carter. Anyhow, she said that she was getting paid for therapy. You know what? That is so cool. That would be amazing for if like for instance, I sometimes get angry. So wouldn't it be so cool if I could just go and play some kind of I don't know, psychopath or something, get it all out of my system, so the person or me or whoever, wouldn't have to do that kind of stuff in real life. And that's a very, what my point is a catharsis, music, anything. and they get paid for it. That's a dream. I think it would be. I don't know. So, anyways, back to Johnny Depp. Yes, as far as musical inclinations and things of that nature, definitely. He has Venus and Taurus. Okay, that's exalted, and this will make Johnny give like have a sensual. Like I already used that word because it's associated with Taurus, but they are sensual. You know what I mean? And if you know what that means, they're like just very I don't want to know if are they sentimental, sentimental. I'm not sure. But anyways, they enjoy beauty, they enjoy aesthetics, and Venus also is associated with music. So seeing as how it's conjunct again, which means that the planets are very close to each other. Mercury in Taurus, which would make for a beautiful voice, which Johnny Depp said he never sang before, but in Sweeney Todd, I mean, he killed it, you know and it was great. Let me, for example, see, Johnny Depp has a Capricorn moon. So in the movie Sweeney Todd, and like how to there's a hole in the world like a great black pit. It is filled with people who are filled with shit, and the women of the world inhabit it, but not for long. So he can be a psychopath, and then whatever he was in that movie, he wasn't a psychopath. He was just displaying what I would consider Capricorn tendencies: brooding, wanting revenge, not being able to get over the past, and any type of like maybe Johnny Depp himself has problems getting over past issues. Capricorn and Cancers are collapse. That type of energy is usually associated with that, having trouble letting go of the past, possibly throwing things in people's faces. But this is Johnny Depp's you know natal chart, which means this is you know how he might have acted when he was younger, and their ingrained traits. However, I always bring this up. It kind of confuses people, but there is a thing called a progressed chart. And what happens here is that, things advance. So if the planets move in your life, and so you change. So when I come up to someone and I say, well, yeah, you might have a tendency to la la la, and they'll be like, no, that's not me. Some people get, a little offended. Well, that's okay, but I understand the progressed chart would probably display something more current for them. You learn from your mistakes, obviously. So, anyways, his Venus in conjunct Mercury and Taurus is great for music. It's in the 10th house of career. And as we all know, Johnny Depp came to be a musician. That's why he went to Hollywood originally. And something must have, transit must have hit his Uranus at a very young age, because it's out of nowhere someone pops up and says, hey, man, you could be an actor. Who introduced him? Nicolas Cage. Yeah, Nicolas Cage. Okay, so that was very unexpected for him. And I think it's great now that, he finally gets to do what he came to Hollywood to do. You know what I mean? He gets to be a musician. Do I think that he is hanging out with the right crowd or making the right choices regarding drug use and blah, blah, blah? Well, no. So, but you know what? He doesn't care. And Johnny Depp is such a fixed minded, stubborn individual that you know what? Anything you say to him, he's not going to listen. He might, for the most part, pretend to, but he's stuck in his own ways. We all are. But being a Gemini, he has the ability to be adaptable, and just changeable. That kind of helps with all the fixed energy that's in his chart, so he doesn't have to be completely stubborn. Very open-minded, with Jupiter and Aries in the 8th house, I think it is. Oh, yeah, it was the 9th house. Jupiter and Aries in the 9th house. That's great. And I believe it squares his moon? Squares his moon in the 6th house. What does that mean? Well, first thing I think is overgenerosity. Yes. Also, I think of innovative contributions to the workplace, which I think he's good at. I don't think, okay, Leo risings hate details. Anyone with Leo energy, get out of my way. I don't want to deal with it. You deal with it. I just want to take care of business. Leos are leaders. They're very organized, but they don't want to deal with paperwork with someone else. Deal with that. Donald Trump is a Donald rising. A Donald rising. There should be a special ascendant for Donald Trump. Seriously. Look, I'm not gonna get into that. But he does have a Leo rising as well, and that is why Johnny Depp and Donald Trump bump heads. Because they're both Geminis, their suns conjunct each other, and I'm talking about in synastry, which is relationship comparison between two natal charts. I'm not gonna get into that whole thing. It's just what happens here is that Donald Trump has Sun conjunct Uranus, okay? and that's just like usually an indication of a person who had like Aquarian like tendencies. What does that mean? Unconventional, someone who just want to go along with the grain. They want to make up their own rules. You know, directions on a cookie, how to cook, blah blah blah. I don't care. They throw the box in the garbage and they might make up their own recipe. They want to do their own things. They dance to the beat of a different drummer, and they are brilliant. They have the capacity to be brilliant. However, Sun conjunct Uranus also has the capacity to be very narcissistic because the Sun is ruled by Leo, which is us, our inner selves, and then conjunct Uranus. I have a theory for that. Anyways, so Johnny's Sun is on top of all that. So there's always going to be either unexpected things and him saying stuff or whatever. And also, there's another interesting thing I want to poke at. Yeah, Johnny Depp's entire stellium, Mars, Pluto, and Uranus, I believe, I don't have the chart in front of me, but I have a good memory for the most part, is conjunct Donald Trump's um, ascendant. So anything in the first house in someone else's chart, Johnny Depp's Mars, Mars, Pluto, and Uranus are going to be lurking over Donald Trump. It's hard to explain. The energy will be lurking there, and yeah. So, moving on. Oh, okay. So we have Saturn in the seventh house. This is not usually the best placement for Saturn. Um, when people first see Saturn in the seventh, they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, I'm never gonna get married." Well, Saturn in Aquarius, which that's what Johnny Depp has, and it's in retrograde, which makes it a little more difficult. Saturn is already difficult. Saturn is a lesson we have to learn this life. It's like some sort of like karmic type thing going on there. Saturn is restriction. Saturn is limitations. Saturn says no sometimes. It's like a father, authoritative figure, and Saturn does actually represent the father. So it's like Saturn just they can be worrisome. I'm talking about Saturn activity, worrisome, um, pessimistic, things of that nature. So you have that in the seventh house. What happens here is that usually the person really doesn't get married because they're not willing to adapt. Okay, because Saturn can be pretty like just strict. They in structured things of that nature. And if you're not a fan of structure, you're not going to be a fan of Saturn in the seventh, like Johnny. And with all his relationship issues. Okay, so I'll get back to that Saturn in the seventh in a second. But here we go. Something very important that I think I need to mention about his relationships and how he may interact with them. Okay, so Mars conjunct Pluto, I said, can be a violent aspect because of, the Mars is a planet of war and it can be quite, violent as it is. And then we have Pluto, and that's like volcanic activity. And then they were both ruled by Aries at one point. Pluto was, or associated with Aries. I mean, Aries ruled over Pluto before. Sorry, say Scorpio. Anyways, they're in cahoots. That's what I'm saying. I get confused with all these little minuscule details. I'm thinking about the big picture. So sorry if I get jumbled up. Yeah. So basically, that conjunction in the second house, Mars is your sex drive. Pluto is intense. Okay. Pluto doesn't mess around. And when you know what I'm saying, the perseverance, any Mars Pluto aspects, it's like Michael Myers, man. They won't die. No. Yeah, but they don't give up. So in the second house, like I already said, he put the issues with that business, and he's probably really good at that, yeah. And obviously doesn't have his own producing company or something of that nature. So, but when it comes to sex, and this might be an issue, and I don't know this, so glad he's not watching this video. I don't want to make any false accusations. However, I believe Johnny Depp has a tendency, like I said, he's all kind of like up in his head, you know. Uh, in the movie Secret Window, his wife always said that you live in your head. Even in the movie Finding Neverland, same thing. So he was good at playing those type of parts, and so he may not be able to show love the way that the women want him to. He happens to attract women that are a little odd or dramatic sometimes. It depends on the situation, and they want attention. They want love. You know what I mean? And everyone does, but everyone's different. Everyone's version of love is quite different. And I don't know how Johnny Depp shows love or whatever. I'm sure it's just through like caring and being there in practical ways. There are people who show love by making, like a card for somebody out of scratch, and or they buy them stuff, or there's good sex, or this person does things for me. There's always kind of that kind of thing. But the seventh, okay, so the eighth house, this is I don't think I've read this in a book, but this is my theory. So the eighth house is the house of sex, right? People often get confused. They think that what happens here is that the eighth house is that of sex on an intimate level, okay, not just a one night stand type thing. Having Mars conjunct Pluto in the second can indicate to someone who engages in carnal sex, a lot of carnal sex, that really doesn't mean anything to them. Being in Virgo, um, Virgo has the propensity to be the type of person to never want to marry because they have such high standards. But if they get to the point where the Virgo type of energy feels like they're not good enough, well, then they probably will start sleeping with a lot of people. I'm not saying that he did, but this aspect can be indicating of such carnal sex. If the eighth house is that of sex, physical, intimate sex, then I would think that boom, the second would be that. It's always the polar opposite. The second house would be that of carnality, practical earth. However, it wouldn't just, like I said, it wouldn't be just like, oh, seedy something in a hotel where, no. I'm sure that he likes candles and music and all kinds of stuff like that. Who knows? Okay, so let me see if there's a couple other things I wanted to mention. Sometimes I have a tendency to ramble on. Uh, oh, okay, so Johnny Depp is extremely unconventional, right? And he doesn't seem to want to go against anything. Now, you would, I mean, he does want to go against the things. You know what I'm saying? He does now. See, things have progressed from the whole Gemini Sun thing to now it went to Cancer at one point in his life. It's hard to explain here, but well, I'm not going to go into it. But people go through stages. The sun sign you were born in is going to progress to another sign eventually, and maybe another, depending how long you live, because each sign is only 30 days, and there's a way that people calculate that and all that. So, yeah, Johnny Depp had a lot of experience as a Cancer, a family man, a home man, someone who's very protective of his family. And Johnny Depp is a very protective as it is. And I'm sure he's very possessive because having Mars and Pluto, probably possessive of lovers too, I'm sure. And I wouldn't put it past him to say he's the jealous type. And you would think, why would Johnny Depp be jealous? He is so freaking hot. Johnny Depp doesn't like his appearance. He doesn't watch his own movies. Does it look like he cares? And when when he gets on set or whatever, people say he's very humble and la la la. It's true, because he had a Virgo rising at one point. Virgo type energy does come off as very humble, very shy. You know what I'm saying? If you know any type of Virgoians. I'm hoping I'm not confusing anyone with what I'm saying here, because in astrology, I consider everything to be sort of an archetype. Now, if you watched my Capricorn video in my Cancer video, I talked about the archetypes, which Cancer would be the moon, rules over Cancer, and it's the fourth house. And then I'll get to that. Johnny Depp has Neptune in the fourth. And then Capricorn, Saturn in the 10th. So it's an archetype. So when I talk about energies and things of that nature, I'm not saying, oh, specific sun sign. You know what I mean? Johnny Depp has Neptune in the fourth house. And I believe, well, that to me would indicate, since Neptune is in the fourth, and it has to do with music. Maybe he got some musical talent from his mother in some way, or he learned it through grapevine, just listening through some music. Yeah, he was always a music lover. I think his mother may have something to do with it. And sometimes Neptune in the fourth, you do not see your mother clearly at all. Usually, sometimes the mom is in and out of the picture. So nomads moving all over the place. Um, Gypsy type, like I said, and also drug use possibly. So I don't know. Maybe he got introduced to drugs at a young age, possibly by his mother. I wouldn't want to say that. I don't know what kind of relationship they had. You know. Um. Okay. So that wow. And then one more thing I wanted to mention about his fourth house. Now there is something that's not really incorporated in mainstream astrology, but it's called the Black Moon Lilith. It's the dark side of what you would say the moon. I mean, it's a yeah. So the dark moon Lilith can be quite yeah. The descriptions you read, they're not fun, but they get straight to the point. It talks about your dark sides, things you don't want to know about. Now his happens to be in Scorpio, okay, and it's conjunct that Neptune at no orb. They're right there on top of each other. So we have the Black Moon Lilith, and then we have Neptune and Scorpio. But what does that mean? To me, that means, drugs were obviously a main point in his life, but also when he was younger. I don't know. And now it's progressed obviously to some kind of issue. And the reason why I keep on bringing up drugs is because Neptune is associated with narcotics and or alcohol and just addictions in general. So yeah, I mean, Johnny Depp, he had it rough growing up. I don't know all the details. Like I said, I haven't read many biographies or anything. Like I have, Johnny Depp. He wants privacy. I respect that. That's fine. Okay, let's see if I touched upon anything else. I don't know. Oh, okay. And then so we have the midheaven and 3 degrees Taurus. Okay, so again, Taurus is associated with music, and so it would seem like Johnny Depp's main calling is music. However, he was discovered for something, completely different. He was able to do it, however, and it's good. So I don't know. That's all I have to say about his chart right now, and I'm not using it as any explanation for his behavior. I'm not using it as an excuse. Oh, Johnny Depp was a woman beater or whatever, possibly because he has Mars conjunct Pluto. No, 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 no. I'm just saying the possibilities. You know, Leo risings are extremely sensitive people. Okay, they can put on a good act. You know, Johnny Depp, I believe he has a lot of anxiety before he comes on stage, and sometimes you can just see his eyes are very glassy. He has to take some kind of drug maybe before he gets on stage. I don't know. Um, I have a lot of experience with drug addicts because I don't know. I just that's the field that I deal with. Okay. Um, Yeah, so Johnny Depp, like I said, is a very, very interesting character, and I like that whole stellium he's got going on, the Mars, Pluto, Uranus thing. Um, Also, I wanted to talk about his love of doing impressions, and for some reason, this Donald Trump thing really irks Johnny to no end. I don't know. I could probably explain if I had the signature in front of me. Yes. Um, and I just wanted to just make this video, a basic video. I don't want to ramble on forever. Um, Oh, and I just really want to wrap it up. Let's just say that Saturn in the seventh in Aquarius. I say like Aquarius loves the freedom. Okay, and Johnny Depp, like I said, with the Sun in the 11th house ruled by Aquarius, he's gonna have a lot of Aquarian tendencies. Let's be free, man. Let me do what I want to do, and I don't want to answer to you and nothing else. However, he might switch that around, and he thinks that he needs answers. You better give me the answers, but I'm not gonna turn around and do it to you. I mean, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like they can Leo Rising seem to think they can get away with murder, but if someone does the same thing to them, they wouldn't tolerate that behavior at all. And I'm speaking from experience because I happen to be a Leo Rising myself. Okay, so anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up. I hope it was somewhat useful. I just like to talk about astrology in general. Sometimes I do kind of have a tendency to ramble off. It's only because my mind is working a million minutes a second. La la la. I have Mercury conjunct the Sun, which gives me some type of a Gemini effect, where your mind is constantly, yeah. So, and with that said, I'm gonna do some other charts on celebrities. If you have any type of suggestion, I would be totally into that. And I think the next chart I want to do is Heath Ledger. Yeah, because of it's pretty interesting to me. The Joker was His Joker was great. Obviously, psychologically speaking, Jack Nicholson's Joker is more of a funny type psychotic thing. And yeah, so I didn't even see the other ones. I don't care. The cartoon ones, but now I didn't see the new movie. Anyways, that doesn't really matter. And so to wrap it up, if you have any suggestions, like I said, of any type, or that I'm open to it, and I hope that this video was somewhat helpful. And I just, if I could talk to Johnny Depp personally, I don't know what I would say. I would probably just keep it cool and say hello because I'm not the type of person to flip out. But good thing I'm never going to meet him, and good thing he's never going to see this video. All right, y'all have a good day, and thank you for listening.